It's a good day today because my German passport came in the mail, so Matt and I are thrilled about that. Unfortunately, he didn't get his one, and I'll let him tell you more about that.
I had to check my family's ancestry because my grandfather left Germany when he was 3 months old to come to Canada. And if he was a German citizen when my father was born, then I would be considered a German citizen as well, and I would be eligible for a German passport. But as it turns out, my grandfather was actually born in Russia. They moved to Germany, and then very soon after that went to Canada. So they weren't German citizens. And the reason why they're from Russia, even though they have it is a German ancestry, is because in the late 1700s, Catherine the Great invited Germans to come to areas of Russia to help settle that parts of the country that have been destroyed by war or just were unfarmed or just unpopulated, and gave them land, gave them religious freedom, gave them the privilege of using their German language, all of those things. So my ancestors moved to the Volga region of Russia, and they had settled there, and they were there for generations. And they left. My great grandfather left the Volga region of Russia in 1912. And the reason for that was because there was just more political strife. I don't know for sure how it directly affected them, but there was a lot of tension at that time. It was right before World War I. So Russia was going to start conscripting everybody to fight in the war, or anybody to fight in any wars. And the original deal from Catherine the Great was that Russian settlers wouldn't have to fight. So that could be one reason. Another reason is they wouldn't have been allowed to keep their language, so they would have to speak and learn Russian. They would have to essentially become Russians and fight for Russia. And there was also other political turmoil at that time as well. So there was the rise of communism, and actually my great grandfather, his family, they escaped in time in 1912 because it was soon after that it was World War I, and then it was soon after that where there was the Bolshevik Revolution, and communists were basically labeling anybody who had those family farms, like my ancestors had, labeling them kulaks, and going and seizing their land and murdering and torturing the people who were there, because they thought everything should belong to the state, and that anybody who owned land was privileged, and that anyway, that led to a lot of deaths, especially after those farms were burned down, and the people fled, because in the preceding years it led to about 6 million Ukrainians starving to death because of that communist revolution. So anyway, long story short, I have a German ancestry, but I'm not considered a German citizen. So moving to the EU, still a possibility, still educated. I would be considered a third-party national. So with my education, my work experience, with me learning the language, and my wife having a German passport, it's just means a few more extra steps and a few more challenges for me personally. But still, our plan is to move to Croatia, no matter how that turned out. The fact that the communists in Russia were calling people privileged as a slander in order to take their property and destroy their livelihood, destroy their families, it actually raises quite a few alarm bells for me, just in terms of socialism in Canada. You often hear people use the term privilege. You know, I'm considered a white heterosexual male. A lot of people would consider me privileged to be that. And I think everybody in Canada is privileged to be a Canadian. So I really despise that labeling of people, because that is where it leads. It leads to dehumanizing certain populations of people, groups of people, and separating them out, organizing them in terms of power. You know, so this group has more power than that group, therefore this group is bad. This group deserves more equity. I really don't like that group identity politics. It's been pushed really hard in Canada over the last 10 years, especially as well. I strongly believe in individual rights and individual freedoms. I think a population of people is more harmonious and peaceful if they look at things that unite them instead of ways that they're different and separating them out into different groups. So that's it's happening too much in Canada, where people are being labeled into different groups, assigned different levels of power and different levels of privilege, and it's used as a tool, or abused as a tool, to basically take from people who really are working as hard as everybody else, working to make their communities better, their family, to help their family, to help their neighbors. But if you happen to be in a neighborhood or a region of the country or a certain race, you may be told that, well, you're privileged, and others may use that as a wedge issue to try and take something, confiscate something away from them, instead of trying to pull everybody else up to match what another group has. So that's one thing that I really despise about the group identity politics, and it's really been pushed in Canada. You know, when you break it down, all of the millions of people who live in Canada are all different from each other, and everybody is oppressed in some way, right? Maybe they pay more taxes, maybe they have an illness, maybe they're illiterate. There could be a million reasons. There are millions of reasons how people are different, and each individual has certain needs that they lean on other people for. And this is why I really agree with and really advocate for individual rights. And at the end of the day, the individual is the ultimate minority. There is nobody like, no matter who you are, there's nobody in the whole world that is like you and has had the exact same trauma and the exact same problems as you, and have the exact same things holding them down from reaching their full potential. So I think a country that has respects individual rights, but also unifies people with some common goals and common values, without assigning blame to other people is for problems that someone may be encountering. I think is a much healthier society, and it's the way Canada was for most of my life. And it's sad that that's being thrown away, I think. Are there people in Canada who do have more privileges than others? Yes, I think so. But what needs to be done is to make sure that anybody who is being oppressed in any way, or who is being held back from their full potential in any way, they need to be lifted up. The people who have more don't need to be taken down in order to do that either. I believe that there's enough room, enough wealth, there's enough work, there's enough care from everybody out there that everybody can be lifted up as neighbors with each other, and as citizens with each other, and as residents of a country. So my German ancestors who fled Russia, they really fled Russia for a lot of the reasons that Croatia wanted to split from former Yugoslavia. Not just Croatia, but all of the Balkan states who wanted to break apart and form their own communities and their own countries and have their own and make their own choices and have their own independence. Instead of all being pooled together into one centrally planned country of Yugoslavia, where everybody's homogenized. So my German ancestors fled Russia because they didn't want to be homogenized in that way. And there's a difference between uniting people and inspiring them versus homogenizing cultures through force and making sure that they sacrifice everything for the good of the homogeneous motherland. People want to speak their own languages, their traditional languages, especially if they already were in a concentrated region of the world and that became absorbed into a larger country. So people really want to have those roots. Cultural roots, recognizing cultural roots is actually very grounding for people. Helps inspire people, and it gives them, I think, a sense of purpose, a better sense of purpose in life. You even see that to some degree in Canada over the last several decades with reconciliation with First Nations people. So the Indigenous people of Canada, there's lots of research that shows that when they practice their own language and the children learn their ancestors' language and learn a little bit about how their ancestors lived and live a little bit more of their own culture at home, that it does give them a better sense of belonging in the larger country, and it gives them a greater sense of purpose in life. So when you have a government that takes that away, like Russia did to my ancestors, or like what Yugoslavia did to all of the smaller states, that the people in the smaller states that made up the former Yugoslavia, you can see why that tends to break apart after a while.